Hello all, and welcome back to another episode of Team 141's programming series. In this episode, we're going to take a deeper look at classes and objects, subjects we've so far only briefly touched upon. We'll be covering what a class is, what an object is, and how they're related. We'll also look at a small example of their usage in code. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. What even is a class? Well, think of it like this. Classes are like blueprints for objects. Most of you watching this are probably familiar with blueprints to at least some extent. You know that they contain information on how to make something, as well as what that thing should be able to do. Classes do exactly that, just in code rather than on paper, and with just words rather than words and pictures. A class will tell the computer what an object should do and what an object should know. This may sound pretty basic, but it is very, very important, as we'll continue to touch upon throughout this entire series. And we have an example class up on the screen for you right here as well. You can see the declaration, public class, and then the name of the class. In this case, we named our class example. Although we'll go more into what keywords like public mean a little bit later on. You can see something that it knows. This is a variable called example string that holds the information hello. The next video we're going to be making for this series will hold more information on variables. And then this is what it does. Any kind of method or function is considered a does example, such as this one right here that just uses our favorite command from last video, system.out.println, to print out the value of the variable we have made in here. If classes are like blueprints for objects, what are objects like? Well, as you may have guessed, objects are like the building that the blueprints tell you how to make. Classes on their own, like blueprints, don't do much, but once you make them into an object, like you would turn a blueprint into a building, they become useful. Take a look at this example, for instance. You can see that I can make as many objects as I want from one class, meaning I don't have to rewrite any code when I want to make a new instance of the class into an object, and you can also see that I can make use of the things that the class knows and does, as you can see here. At this point, though, you're probably wondering why we need classes and objects. Why not just make the variables in main, then use the code from greeting in main underneath those variables and avoid all the trouble? Well, since this is a very basic example, you're actually completely correct. I could just put that code in main with little to no difference. But as you write more complex code, that becomes less and less efficient. Imagine for a second a program that keeps track of the size and volume of cubes, like this example right here. As you can see, it's a lot easier to manage and create cubes when we have an object for them than it would be to keep writing out all the information for a cube over and over again. It also saves us a lot of time writing the same code over and over again and makes it really easy to change the code for every cube later. Imagine if there had been a mistake in the math to calculate the volume and you had to go through the code and find every instance of that line. With objects, you only have to find and change the one spot in the code to fix every single object. So, for instance, if we open up the file for the cube class, if right here we had accidentally said height times width divided by length, they would be putting out the wrong volume. However, to fix that for every single cube object in the entire program, all we'd have to do is go to this file, change the one line, and then every single one of them will work as intended because they all draw their code from the same source. So what did we learn today? We learned what a class is, a blueprint for an object. We learned what an object is, the building to our blueprint, the useful product of its creation. We also learned why objects are useful. They save time, they reduce the need to write the same code multiple times, and they make fixing issues much easier. And that is all we have for you guys today. There will be a link in the description to a GitHub repository that holds all the files we showed you in this video, as well as the last one. GitHub is something we'll be teaching you guys about a little bit later on, but for the moment, it is, just think of it like a Dropbox or Google Drive type thing where you can put files to let other people view them and download them and that kind of thing. The video script will also be in that repository.